The fact is, at the moment, the leverage is on the side of the United States as the economic sanctions continue to take hold. There's no doubt over a protracted period of time that the time does work in favor of the proliferator. But I think our judgment right now is that time works in the favor of the president's position as North Korea sees the effect of these sanctions taking greater effect.
Well, that's National Security Advisor John Bolton explaining on Fox News Sunday the White House strategy in dealing with the negotiations with North Korea. His comments, of course, coming days after that high-stakes summit between the president and Kim Jong-un in Vietnam ended without a deal. Meantime, the president continues to face backlash for refusing to blame dictator Kim Jong-un for the death of Otto Warmbier, the 22-year-old college student from Ohio. Otto died after authorities say he was tortured and beaten while imprisoned in North Korea. Then he was sent back home in a coma to die. Joining us for more on this is Professor Sung-Yoon Lee. He's a Korean and East Studies specialist on North Korea, a professor at Tufts University in Boston, and we welcome him back. Professor, first on the deal. You're welcome. Is no deal better than a bad deal, or in your view, was the summit premature and just simply not sufficiently prepared?
The summit was premature, but it was the right thing to do for the president to walk away from it. And I think the North Koreans were taken aback. Kim Jong-un probably in his life has never been snubbed like this. He's treated as a demigod in his own country. And the North Koreans showed a little bit of panic when they held that late-night impromptu press conference. And the foreign minister said that all that they had sought was sanctions relief for the sake of the people of North Korea, which is ironical, that were passed at the UN Security Council as of 2016. But that's like saying all I asked for was 99% of sanctions to be relieved, to be terminated, because before 2016, UN sanctions were very weak and defensive. But after, as of March 2016, they become quite meaningful, targeting North Korea's various industries like mineral exports, steel, textiles, coal, seafood, also blocking North Korea's access to financial services, banking services. So that was a bit disingenuous. And then his deputy said something that was an unwitting admission of lying all these years. Madam Choi said, this is the most comprehensive package that we've ever offered, historical, she said. But then in the past, in 2005, for instance, North Korea, in writing, said that it is committed to abandoning all nuclear weapons and existing programs. So North Koreans were in a state of disarray.
So being in a disarray, leaving that in the dust like that, do you think that plays to our benefit?
For now, but, and it's right, you know, the National Security Advisor, Mr. Bolton, is right in that the U.S. should approach this as the long game over several years of tough sanctions enforcement, and I think it was premature to hold the summit in the first place, which, shorn of leverage, financial pressure, it's very hard to compel North Korea to give up what it considers to be the one panacea that it can use to overturn all the gloomy indices of state inferiority vis-a-vis the richer South Korean state. But it was the right move, and the long game is that, like the Obama administration, for example, 5 years of tough sanctions enforcement against Iran, levying fines in the billions of dollars on major international banks that, in violation of U.S. sanctions laws, continue to do business with Iran. That kind of financial pressure sustained over time is necessary. So Mr. Bolton is right in that regard. However, North Korea's nuclear and ballistic missile programs, in the meantime, continue to grow in their lethality.
They are continuing. They're not giving up on that. Meanwhile, human rights was not really raised. But of course, we have the controversy over Otto Warmbier. I spent some time with his parents, Cindy and Fred, recently in my reporting. And let me give you their statement. This is what they issued last week. We have been respectful during the summit process. Now we must speak out. Kim and his evil regime are responsible for the death of our son Otto. Kim and his evil regime are responsible for unimaginable cruelty and inhumanity. No excuses or lavish praise can change that. You weighed in on the federal case, the federal lawsuit that they were successful against North Korea. What are the chances, in your view, that Kim did not know that an American was being held, that he was being tortured, that he was being beaten to the point where he was deaf and blind, sent home to die, and that Kim just didn't know anything about this? Do you think that's even really possible?
And that would be in early January 2016. Otto was detained on January 2nd. Just 4 days later, North Korea conducted the nation's fourth nuclear test, 2 days shy of Kim Jong-un's birthday, and then did another one in September. Having a U.S. hostage would have been very useful to the North Korean state in trying to deter a forceful, even diplomatic counter-offensive from the United States. So the chances are zero. I know the Warmbiers consider this kind of naysayers, saying Otto never should have gone there and stuff like that as just noise. But to hear that from the president, I would think was a source of disappointment. The federal case, the Warmbiers that they won, the bar set was very high. The plaintiffs, the Warmbiers, sought to establish that North Korea was guilty of hostage-taking, torture, and extrajudicial killing. And the federal judge, the Chief Justice of the U.S. District Court for D.C., ruled favorably on all three accounts. So, that's a firm record that we have. And, it's all out there in public. Anyone who's interested, anyone commenting on the case in a fact-free kind of fashion can check it out, can read the documents.
In fact, Judge Barrow Hall said that he was barbarically tortured to extract a false confession, and then basically it was a show trial, all meant to maintain and continue North Korea's foreign policy objectives. We will not forget Otto Warmbier and what he represented for our country and our values. Professor Sung Yoon Lee of Tufts University, thank you.